If you're doing VCE methods, these are the 3 tips that helped me achieve a 40 plus before school even started. Keep in mind that even though there's only a week to go before school starts, there's still plenty of time to implement these tips and get you on the road to getting a 40 plus in VCE methods. The first tip that I implemented was completing my Head Start homework early. Now, a lot of people, you might not have done this so far, and that's all good. If you complete your Head Start homework now and just get a gist of what the topics are talking about, you should be fine. And if there's anything that's missing, you can always just go back to those exercises later when you have a bit more time. Now, the second tip that I implemented was getting 2 to 3 weeks ahead of the class content. So what I did was I received a schedule of what the class was meant to go through, and then I went through all the topics myself about 2 to 3 weeks beforehand. This had 2 benefits. The first one was it allowed me to stay ahead of the class and make sure that I actually understood things before actually going into the class blindly. And the next thing was it allowed me to achieve a new perspective on the content. I learned it all myself, and what this meant is that I had my own interpretation of the content, and then I also had my teacher's interpretation of the content also, and when you combine them together, you get an ultimate understanding of what's actually going on. The third tip I implemented was to prepare for SACs and exams early. Now, this is only possible if you implement the second tip, but what preparing for SACs and exams allows you to do is refine those exam taking strategies early. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that sitting a test or sitting an exam is actually a skill in itself. But a lot of people, what they fall into the fallacy of is thinking that if you just refine the content and perfect the content, this is going to be enough to get your dream exam scores or your ideal test scores. Now, a personal anecdote that I have is that when I was preparing for tests, I'd prepare for them specifically, but then when I started preparing for exams, I was only scoring about 60 to 70% on mock tests, which were actual past ones that Vika made. And I realized during this time that when I prepared for tests, it was different to preparing for exams because, first of all, there's a lot more pressure. And second of all, the way that they structure questions is a lot different. And I wasn't expecting that. And honestly, it was a big shock at the time. And being ahead of the content actually allowed me to refine my exam taking strategy before going into my exam period, which set me up for success in VC methods.